Hello everybody, welcome to Also Rusty Buckets. I am reporting in from my white boy summer in Los Angeles. Unfortunately am having to do this video right now. I was hoping that I would not be forced to make a video during this trip, but I also left right as the draft was happening and right as the off season was heating up, so I kind of anticipated it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and drop a like on this video. I'm trying to hit 100K on this channel by the end of the year, so your subscription would be much appreciated, especially if you already watch my main channel content. Like, my goal is to get 200K on my main channel by the end of the year, and I want to get 100 on this one, and I'm closer to 200 there than I am to 100 on this one, so the numbers don't really make sense. But there's also a large percentage of my audience for my main channel that could very well subscribe here, so do that. Anyways, I apologize that the video and audio quality is not the best. It's not like you come to this channel for that quality, but I'm making do with what I can. I could not bring my microphone through TSA. I could manage to bring my camera, but the lighting in this setup is not the best. I might just look like when they interview people in documentaries who are trying to hide their identity, just a silhouette. But anyways, so the trade that's making me do this video is Russell Westbrook is in principle going to the Los Angeles Lakers. And the reason why I clarify that it's in principle is that, one, the trade has not been fully 100% confirmed in terms of the specifics of it, but more importantly, the trade will not be able to be finalized, just like the Valanciunas and Steven Adams move that I previously talked about. That will not be able to be completed along with this Russell Westbrook move until August 6th, because the 2021-22 salary cap table does not happen until then. And from the specifics of this trade, because it's Montrezl Harrell picking up his team option, which Lakers fans should be very happy he did, because he could have just not picked up that option and they wouldn't have been able to make this happen. But it's KCP, Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, and probably the 22nd pick. Now, because the trade will not be happening until the 6th of August, that means that whoever the Lakers select will probably be on behalf of the Wizards, more than likely, assuming that pick is pretty much going to be in the deal. Like I said, the specifics are still not entirely clarified. Excuse me. But it's worth noting that the trade hasn't happened yet and the details have not been hammered out specifically. There might be third teams involved, there might not be. Who's to say? We'll have to wait and see. But that being said, there are two things we can talk about in this video in regards to this trade, assuming that it goes through, which is pretty certain that it will. There is the Lakers side of this and the Wizards side of this. I know I said that like it was some profound thing, but there you go. It's a really simple thing. We have to talk about the Lakers side because Russell Westbrook with the Lakers' current roster is really weird. We can't just pretend like it's not. It's a very weird fit. We'll talk about that, but I do want to talk about the Washington Wizards side of this thing. So I think I mentioned in my video on the potential Russell Westbrook trade that it would be a Talen Horton-Tucker sign-and trade. From what I can tell, at least right now, it's not looking like that's what it's going to be. Now, I would imagine that the Lakers would love to keep KCP because he's like the only decent three-point shooter on their team. I'm sure they would love to keep KCP on the roster and instead do a Talen sign-and trade. And I would imagine the Wizards would rather do that as well. So I could see this trade actually being delayed a little bit just to make something like that happen. Or the Lakers could very well sign and trade Talen for something else, maybe a better shooter. Maybe it is and actually probably not. I was going to say maybe it's a Buddy Hield trade, but I doubt that just because I think that you'd have to pay a little bit too much for Talen Horton-Tucker for the Kings' sake. Which, by the way, Twitter was a fucking nightmare because it was a constant debate about what trade was happening because Kuzma and Montrez were moving in the alleged Buddy Hield trade. But like it seemed like both of those trades were happening at the same time, which obviously they can't. Shams and Woj had conflicting reports, and obviously they're the two most reliable sources. Mark Stein had conflicting reports. So kind of fucking chaos. But I think what we can walk away from, or what I walked away from looking over through all of those fucking tweets, is that this move is happening. So on the Wizards side of things, they are probably not getting Horton Tucker. Instead, KCP, and then Kyle Kuzma and Montrezl Harrell was already kind of a given. I think there was a potential of it being KCP instead of Montrezl Harrell money wise, but either way, that's what it's going to be. Talen Horton Tucker is still probably just going to be a sign and trade to another team, I would imagine, because I think if the Lakers are smart, they will capitalize on the allure of the potential of Talen Horton Tucker rather than betting on it for themselves, because you have to win in the current moment. It's not to say that Horton doesn't have that potential, but when his value is as high as it is right now, with a lot of teams looking to spend a little bit too much for some young potential talent, I think you should capitalize on that where you can. Anyways, so the Wizards won't be getting that, which is like, from a young talent perspective, that essentially means the only thing they're getting is the 22nd pick in the draft, whoever that may be. If it's someone like, let's say, Zaire Williams, who I don't know a lot about the draft, but I know about him, and he's someone that I know is slotted anywhere from like the 7th pick to the 28th. He's could go at any point in the draft. And for that reason, if you got someone like that who's like, to my understanding, big boom or bust, and he ends up booming, then that would be clearly a really good deal. But at the same time, just the 22nd pick is not the best. That being said, Russell Westbrook as a trade asset is not the best trade asset in the world. So him not getting a whole lot of value for him kind of makes sense. Anyways, on top of that, for the Wizards, you have to deal with KCP and Kyle Kuzma and Montrezl Harrell. Montrezl is like young enough, I think he's like 26 at this point, to where like you could be like, I'm cool keeping him around, like somebody to sell a few tickets, like somebody who will score the ball on a really bad Wizards team. That's all right. KCP could be flipped for a first round pick. You could probably flip Montrezl too. It really just depends on what they'd want to do. Kyle Kuzma sucks. They're not flipping him for shit. Maybe a second round pick or two for another bad contract, but that's the extent of what you're going to get. And also, I'll actually sidebar a little bit. Kyle Kuzma doesn't actually like really suck. He's whatever. But it's fun to be mean to Kyle Kuzma. I don't know why. He has a goofy, punchable face. So I'm just unnecessarily mean to him. And that's kind of why all NBA fans are. Also, he like tries to act cool while looking goofy as shit. Anyways, so it's interesting. The other thing that's worth talking about with the Wizards is, what does this mean for Bradley Beal? I'm sorry if this video is rambly. Like, I was not expecting to be recording this video. I mean, I kind of was, but I wasn't. And I was kind of thrown off by it. But Bradley Beal, there's a report out right now that I'm not going to look into the specifics of it because going through Twitter will end the recording of audio. But the report suggests that Bradley Beal is still interested in staying with the Wizards, which, like, dude, the fuck? Like, at this point, you clearly need to be leaving this situation. There were already reports of him potentially wanting out. So the suggestion that he would stay, like the report could be bullshit because it wasn't a strong official source. But if he decides to stay with the Wizards after all of this, no one should feel sorry for Bradley Beal. Now, I already didn't feel bad for Bradley Beal because he signed the extension. And then on top of that, he didn't ask out in multiple instances where it seemed pretty reasonable. So I have wanted to see Bradley Beal on another team, but I also am not like, oh, he has to be freed because he picked this situation. That being said, like, no one should feel sympathy for his situation in the Wizards if he decides to stay. On top of that, he's also a multimillionaire who gets to play basketball for a living. So he's doing good, regardless of if it's on a bad basketball team. I feel like that's an important perspective to have. It's like, I can feel a little bad that your basketball team's not that good, but also you make $35 million a year. I'll trade you. I'll trade lives with you. Anyways, so that's the Wizards side of things. On with the Lakers side. I'm not going to elaborate too much on the X's and O's of this because I already did that in my video talking about the potential move, or, by the way, I said I didn't really care for it. Spacing. It's important Didn't know if you knew that, but spacing is an important aspect of the game, and ignoring it can be detrimental, especially in the modern game. And this move could very well end up being just ignoring spacing. Now, that being said, if you do AD at the 5 the whole time, there's someone at power forward who can shoot the ball. LeBron is a decent enough catch and shoot player. He's not the best, but he gets the job done. And Russell Westbrook is able to do more lead ball handling stuff while LeBron does a more off-ball role, kind of going into his age. That would make some sense, and I don't think it's like it's going to be a disaster, especially because I just really thought of that on the spot, but like the idea that LeBron could be more of an off-ball player as Russell Westbrook, at least during the regular season, really maintains the ball handling and distribution duties, and LeBron is just like almost in a Draymond Green type of role in the offense, just at a much higher level, obviously. I would actually be interested in that. I've always wanted to see LeBron do more off-ball stuff. It's just not really something that he does very much. Most of his assisted offense comes in the on the fast break. So I understand it from that perspective. I understand the extra playmaking. I understand the fact that now LeBron is not the one making the brunt of the playmaking decisions. And if it's not him, it's Dennis Schroeder, which, by the way, this means Dennis Schroeder's gone for sure. So I understand it from that perspective, but at the same time, late in games and just in games in general, especially in the playoffs, I want the ball in LeBron's hands over Russell Westbrook. It's kind of a given. And to have somebody like Russell Westbrook, who is obviously not going to space the floor when he is off of the ball, that is going to be concerning. That's an area to be exploited. Now, you could make the argument the Lakers have been so bad at three-point shooting in the past year that, or not the last year, the last 2 years, that why even bother trying to be good at shooting? But first of all, that's a slippery slope. Second of all, that was a problem that they should have addressed, not decided to submit to. But third of all, there's a difference between not being a great shooting team and not being a team that is defended on the perimeter, period. And that's something that we could potentially see from Russell Westbrook on the Lakers. That being said, assuming that they filled out this roster with shooters and ideally like a backup point guard who can shoot the ball, a backup guard of some kind. It can be an off guard because LeBron will be the main ball handler, but something like that. If they could keep KCP and instead move Horton Tucker, who's not a good shooter, that would be cool. But like I think there's enough potential signing of shooting if you have a really good offseason that you can make it work. That being said, it's not going to be a seamless fit. I think we all know that. The one thing about the Buddy Hield trade instead is, would that have been as big of a move as Russell Westbrook? Would it have been as a potentially ceiling elevating move? No. Would it be a lot easier? Would it fit seamlessly? Yeah. Not to mention, you still could have done a Horton Tucker sign and trade plus KCP in that deal, and that's a lot of money. Still, you could have traded for another like $20 million plus per year player, and that's off the table now. That being said, I think, first of all, Russell Westbrook and LeBron are on the same team. That's weird. Like that's just weird. I never would have expected those two to be on the same team, so that's fucking weird. But then also on top of that, I don't know what I'm saying. It's just weird. Am I the only one that thinks this is really weird? Like I'm not, but not a trade I ever expected to see coming. When I saw the rumor initially, which I made a video about, which if you want to see more of my thoughts on the specifics of the Lakers X's and O's, I went into that in the second half of that video. That's why it's so fucking long, is I realized, oh shit, I didn't talk about the X's and O's at all. Regardless, where am I going with this? I don't remember. It's weird. Bye.